My hands trembled. I watched my husband fasten a diamond necklace around another woman's neck right before my eyes. But I didn't cause a scene. Instead, I called the bank and reported his credit card stolen. Then I sat back, relaxed, and waited for the show to begin. 5 minutes later, as he went to pay, my husband's world began to unravel. The delicate clinking of a porcelain spoon against a teacup was the only sound that broke the silence in the VIP lounge of Sterling Trust Bank that afternoon. The room was cool, scented with a faint hint of lavender and a world away from the bustling queues of regular customers on the ground floor. Arya sat with a perfectly straight back, her legs crossed elegantly. She wore a cream-colored silk blouse from Chloe that draped her body perfectly paired with tailored black trousers. There was no flashy jewelry, only a small leather-strapped watch on her left wrist. But anyone with a keen eye would know that watch was worth as much as a luxury sedan. Across from her, Mr. Davis, the silver-haired branch manager of Sterling Trust, smiled warmly as he slid a thick navy blue folder across the polished mahogany table. Mrs. Weston, the process of transferring the trust funds from the joint account to your personal account is complete, he said, his baritone voice reassuring. As per your instructions, this morning the inheritance from your late father has not been deposited into the company's operational account managed by Mr. Thompson, but rather into a new long-term certificate of deposit, solely in your name. Arya let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. A heavy weight lifted from her shoulders. Thank you, Mr. Davis. I just wanted to ensure my father's assets are secure. It's not that I don't trust my husband, but the real estate developments Ethan is managing have been volatile lately. I need a safety net just in case there are cash flow issues. Mr. Davis nodded respectfully. He had known Arya's family for decades. He knew how her father had built his real estate empire from the ground up, and he'd heard the whispers about Ethan, Arya's husband, who now controlled the company's operations. A very wise decision, Mrs. Weston. As your banker, I always advise diversification. Never put all your eggs in one basket, as the saying goes. He chuckled softly, trying to lighten the formal atmosphere. Arya offered a faint smile. Exactly. Oh, and one more thing. For the Joint Centurion Black Card, could you please ensure that all notifications are sent exclusively to my phone? Ethan can be careless with alerts, and I'm afraid a payment might be missed. Already taken care of, ma'am. All transaction notifications above $5,000 will be sent directly to your phone and email in real time. Mr. Thompson still holds the supplementary card, but primary authorization control remains with you as the source account holder. Arya sipped her chamomile tea, which was now pleasantly warm. It was calming. Today was an important day. She had just ring-fenced $300 million from her husband's reach, all without his knowledge. For the past week, her instincts both as a wife and a businesswoman had been screaming at her to do this. Well, then I should be going, Mr. Davis. I have other errands to run. Arya placed her cup down and stood. Allow me to escort you to the lobby, Mrs. Weston, Mr. Davis said quickly, rising and straightening his suit jacket. That won't be necessary. I'll use the side entrance that connects to the mall. I want to look for a birthday gift for my mother-in-law. Besides, my car is with the valet. I'll call my driver when I'm finished. Very well. Have a wonderful afternoon, Mrs. Weston. Please send my regards to Mr. Thompson. Arya merely nodded. She walked out of the cool, quiet room into the connecting corridor that linked the bank building with one of Manhattan's most luxurious shopping centers, the Galleria on 5th. Her steps were firm, the sound of her heels clicking against the marble floor in a steady, rhythmic tap-tap-tap. She felt victorious. Her assets were safe, her future secure. Ethan could be as busy as he wanted with his ambitious projects, but Arya held the key to the vault. She looked forward to a quick stroll through the mall, perhaps buying another gold bar for her portfolio, or just browsing the new handbag collections. She had no idea that this simple decision to stop by the mall would turn her life upside down. Destiny was waiting for her just beyond the automatic glass doors that separated the sterile world of banking from the vibrant chaos of high-end retail. The air inside the mall was different, more alive, noisier, and filled with a heady mix of expensive perfumes, freshly ground coffee, and the crisp chill of central air conditioning. Arya clutched her handbag and walked leisurely past a row of designer boutiques on the ground floor, her eyes scanning the glittering display windows. She had intended to look at precious metals, but somehow her feet carried her towards the high-end jewelry section in the mall's west wing. Their renowned jewelers, frequented by the city's elite, stood side by side. Maybe a simple necklace for his mother would be nice, Arya mused. She approached a store, Tiffany & Co., one of her old favorites. The store had wide glass walls, allowing anyone outside to glimpse the opulence within. Arya was about to enter, her hand already extended to push the heavy glass door when her movement froze mid-air. Her blood ran cold. Her heart seemed to stop for a full second before hammering painfully against her ribs, sending a rush of blood to her head. Inside, standing right in front of a display of solitaire diamond rings, was a man whose posture she knew intimately. That slim-fit blue blazer, Arya had bought it for him last month. The chronograph watch on his left wrist, it was their anniversary gift from 2 years ago. The perfectly coiffed hair with a touch of pomade, it was her husband's signature style. It was Ethan, but Ethan was not alone. Clinging to his left arm, a young woman stood beside him. Her long, wavy hair was dyed a light brunette. She wore a short dress that showed off her long legs and stiletto heels that made her look even taller. Her face was pretty with the glowing makeup popular among young women today. Arya took a step back, her legs feeling like jelly. She saw Ethan laugh, a free, uninhibited laugh that she hadn't seen at home in a long time. He leaned down and whispered something in the woman's ear, then gave her a quick peck on the cheek. The kiss was so natural, so casual, as if they were the happiest couple in the world, and as if they weren't in a public place. What was her name? Arya narrowed her eyes, trying to remember. The face was familiar. She had seen it in photos from Ethan's company gathering last month. A new secretary or an intern. Arya vaguely recalled a name. Jessica. Ethan had mentioned her as a sharp and dependable employee. Apparently dependable in a very different sense. Arya watched as the woman Jessica pointed to a jewelry set in the display case, a diamond necklace with a teardrop pendant surrounded by smaller diamonds, complete with a matching pair of earrings. Arya knew that set. It was from the latest collection with a price tag approaching $85,000. Ethan nodded without hesitation. He stroked Jessica's back, and then gestured for a sales associate to take the set out. Arya's chest tightened. It felt as if an invisible hand was squeezing her lungs. Nausea rose in her throat. Ethan, Arya whispered. Her voice choked. At home, Ethan always complained about the business being slow. Let's not be extravagant right now, honey. The project is stalled. A client payment is delayed. That's what he always said whenever Arya suggested a vacation or renovating the house. As an understanding wife, Arya had always complied. She had even used her personal savings to cover some household expenses, so Ethan wouldn't be stressed. And now, before her very eyes, the husband who claimed his business was struggling was about to buy a jewelry set worth more than a down payment on a condo for another woman. Rage began to simmer, replacing the shock. Arya's hands, which had been trembling, were now clenched into tight fists. Her nails dug into her palms, leaving crescent-shaped marks. She could storm in there right now. She could burst through the door, grab that woman's hair, slap Ethan in public, and create a scene that would go viral on social media. It would be satisfying. So satisfying. But Arya was not a fool. She was the only daughter of a real estate tycoon. She was raised never to show emotion in front of the enemy. Crying and screaming would only make her look pathetic. It would only give Ethan a reason to defend himself or even blame her. No. Arya took a deep breath. Once. Twice. She stepped back, slowly, hiding behind a large, mosaic-mirrored pillar, making sure she was out of sight, but could still peek into the store. Arya looked at her reflection in the pillar. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with a fierce light. You want to play with fire, Ethan, she whispered coldly. Fine. I'll provide the gasoline. From behind the pillar, Arya took out her smartphone. The screen lit up, showing a wallpaper of the two of them on their honeymoon in Bali 5 years ago. Ethan's smile in the photo now looked so fake. With fingers that were now steady, Arya searched her contacts. She didn't call Ethan. That would be amateurish. She pressed the name Mr. Davis Sterling Trust. The line rang. Beep, beep. Hello, Mrs. Weston. Did you forget something? Mr. Davis's voice was prompt on the other end. He must have been surprised since she had just left his office 10 minutes ago. Arya cleared her throat, composing her voice. She had to sound calm, slightly panicked but still in control. The performance began. Mr. Davis, I'm sorry to bother you. I need your help. It's urgent, Arya said. What is it, ma'am? Is there a problem with the transfer? Mr. Davis's tone turned serious. No, not that. It's... Arya paused for dramatic effect, her eyes still locked on Ethan inside the jewelry store, who was now fastening the necklace around Jessica's neck. Jessica was giggling, admiring herself in a small mirror held by the sales associate. I just got a call from Ethan. He said his wallet was stolen while he was at an off-site meeting. Arya lied smoothly. It was a perfectly logical lie. His supplementary Centurion card is in that wallet. You know the one with a virtually unlimited line of credit. Oh, that's dangerous, Mrs. Weston. A card of that caliber in the wrong hands could be maxed out in minutes, Mr. Davis replied, his voice laced with concern. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. I'm worried the thief might be bold enough to use it at a luxury merchant for a quick score. I'll block it immediately, ma'am. Wait, Arya cut in quickly. Don't just do a standard block. I want you to flag the card for a stolen, fraudulent attempt. So if anyone tries to swipe it in the next 5 minutes, the terminal will decline it with a security code for theft. And please ensure the system sends a notification of the failed transaction's location to me. Can do, Mrs. Weston. That's standard operating procedure for a priority card reported stolen. I'll input it into the central system right now. Card status. Lost, stolen permanent block. It should take about 2 minutes to activate across all merchant networks. Do it now, please. I'll wait for your confirmation. Right away, ma'am. It's being processed. Click. Done. The card ending in 4,588, under the name Ethan Thompson, is now inactive. Any transaction attempts will be automatically declined and flagged as illegal. Thank you, Mr. Davis. You're a lifesaver. I'll have Ethan handle getting a replacement card next week. Maybe this will teach him to be more careful, Arya set her tone, perfectly mimicking a wife scolding her husband's carelessness. You're very welcome, Mrs. Weston. Glad I could help secure your assets. The call ended. Arya lowered her phone. The corners of her lips lifted slightly, forming a chilling, crooked smile. The trap was set. Ethan was holding the powerful card. He was so proud of the card, whose bill was always paid in full by Arya every month using the dividends from her father's company. Ethan often forgot or pretended to forget that the luxury he enjoyed, the car he drove, and the social status he flaunted all came from Arya. Without her, Ethan was just a mid-level operations manager with a standard salary that wouldn't be enough to buy a diamond necklace worth $85,000. Enjoy your last 5 minutes of dignity, honey, Arya muttered. She glanced at her watch. 1:15 p.m. Time to find a strategic seat. Directly across from Tiffany & Co. was an open-concept cafe called The Overlook. Its seating area was slightly elevated from the main floor, offering a perfect, unobstructed view of the mall's main corridor, including the entrance to the jewelry store. Arya walked into the cafe. She chose a corner table near the glass barrier. From here, she was like a spectator in a VIP box, ready to watch the gladiators. Good afternoon, ma'am. What can I get for you? A friendly waiter asked, handing her a menu. An iced Americano, no sugar, and a slice of cheesecake, Arya replied without looking at the menu, her eyes fixed on the store across the way. Coming right up. As she waited, her mind flashed back to that morning. At 7 a.m. during breakfast, Ethan had seemed rushed, quickly finishing his oatmeal. I'll be home late today, babe, he'd said, while adjusting his tie. Working late again, Arya had asked. Yeah, a meeting with a client from Chicago. It's crucial for the new condo project. Might go late into the night. Don't wait up for me. Arya remembered offering to pack him lunch, but Ethan had declined, saying he would be eating out with the client. A client from Chicago, huh? Turns out the client was a young woman in a mini dress, now giggling while pointing at rings in a display case. Arya's order arrived. The cold black coffee was strong. She stirred it slowly, the straw clinking against the ice cubes. Across the way, the scene was progressing. Jessica seemed to have made her choice. Arya could see the sales associate using a calculator, typing in numbers and showing the total to Ethan. Ethan nodded casually with the air of an old money aristocrat who didn't care about the price. So arrogant, Ethan, Arya thought. Jessica clapped her hands lightly and hugged Ethan's arm tightly, her face radiating victory. In her mind, she had probably conquered her boss's heart and won a lavish prize. She must have felt on top of the world, more loved than the legitimate wife at home. Then Ethan reached into his back pocket. He pulled out a black leather wallet, another gift from Arya. From it, he drew a sleek black card. The Amex Centurion. The card that, as of 2 minutes ago, was flagged as stolen in the national banking system. Arya took a sip of her coffee. It was bitter, but not as bitter as the taste in her heart. Strangely, as the seconds ticked by, the pain began to numb, replaced by a morbid, sadistic curiosity. Arya wanted to see Ethan's face when his rich man facade was forcibly torn away. Arya watched Ethan hand the card to the cashier with a confident gesture. The cashier accepted it with both hands, bowed respectfully, and walked over to the credit card terminal. 1, Arya counted in her head. 2, 3. Showtime. Inside the store, Ethan was still smiling at Jessica. After this, we'll have dinner at that steakhouse uptown. Okay, darling, he whispered. You like the set. I love it, Ethan, thank you. You just get me. Not like your uptight wife, Jessica cooed, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. Ethan chuckled softly. Shh, let's not talk about her here. At the register, the employee inserted the card into the machine. He entered the transaction amount, $85,000, waiting for connection. The machine's indicator light blinked green, then suddenly turned red. A long, piercing beep filled the air. On the small screen, a message appeared. Declined. Do not honor. The cashier frowned. He tried swiping it again. Maybe a signal issue. He repeated the process. Beep. Declined. Retain card. The retain card instruction was a serious directive from the bank. It meant the cashier was not to return the card to the customer because it was flagged for criminal activity. The cashier, an experienced middle-aged man, immediately looked at Ethan differently. The respectful gaze was gone, replaced by suspicion. He made eye contact with the store's security guard standing near the door. I'm sorry, sir, the cashier said, his voice loud enough to make a few other customers turn. The card has been declined. Ethan's smile vanished. Declined. What do you mean? It has no limit. It can't be overdrawn. It's not overdrawn, sir. It's declined. The reason code is stolen card. What? Ethan's voice rose. Don't be ridiculous. That's my card. Look at the name Ethan Thompson. Try it again. We've tried twice, sir. Same result. And per bank procedure, I'm afraid we have to hold on to the physical card. The cashier moved the card out of Ethan's reach. Give me back my card. Ethan started to panic, his face flushing red. Jessica, standing beside him, began to look confused and embarrassed. Ethan, what's going on? Did you not pay the bill? No, it must be a system error, Ethan snapped. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead. He didn't have that much cash on him. The balance on his other debit cards was enough for lunch, not for diamonds. All his major financial access was tied to that one card, a card whose source of funds was Aria's account. The store's security guard approached. Is there a problem here, sir? This lunatic is trying to keep my card, Ethan yelled. Sir, please calm down, said the store manager emerging from a back room. We are only following procedure. If you are the legitimate owner, please contact your bank immediately. In the meantime, we cannot process this transaction, and we are required to call mall security due to a fraud alert. The situation escalated. People outside the store began to gather, watching the drama unfold. Across the way in the Overlook Cafe, Aria watched calmly as she cut into her cheesecake. Go on, Ethan. Who are you going to call now? You have no one but me. Ethan fumbled for his phone with trembling hands. He tried to open his mobile banking app to transfer funds. Failed. Your account has been temporarily blocked. Please contact our call center. Ethan's world crumbled. He was trapped. He had brought his mistress to show off his wealth, only to be accused of being a fraud in public. Jessica had already stepped away, pretending to look at another display case, ashamed of being seen with him. Damn it, Ethan cursed. He had no choice. He had to call the one person who could save him, the person he had betrayed 5 minutes ago. Aria's phone vibrated on the cafe table. The screen lit up. My husband. Aria let it ring 3 times. 1, 2, 3. She answered, her voice soft and feignedly concerned. Hello, Ethan. Why are you calling at this hour? I thought you were in a meeting with your client. Ethan's voice was panicked, broken, and filled with fear. Help me! My credit card isn't working. Did you block it? Aria feigned shock. What, honey, wasn't your wallet stolen? Huh, stolen. What are you talking about? I'm at a store trying to buy something. A gift for that client. Mr. Davis from the bank called me honey, Aria cut in, expertly twisting the facts. He said there was a suspicious transaction attempt for tens of thousands of dollars at a jewelry store. The bank's system flagged it as unusual spending for you, so it was automatically blocked because they thought your card had been stolen. I was so worried I thought your wallet was really gone, so I approved the block for security. Oh my God, Aria, Ethan groaned in frustration. That was me. I was the one making the purchase. Unblock it. Now I'm so embarrassed everyone is staring at me. Oh, that was you, Aria fought back a bitter laugh. I thought you had a meeting about the condo project. What are you doing at a jewelry store? What costs over $80,000? There was a moment of silence. Ethan choked on his own saliva, realizing he was caught in his lie. It's an investment, honey. I'll explain later. Just please unblock it now. Security is about to take me to their office. I can't, Ethan, Aria replied calmly. Once it's flagged as stolen, the block can only be lifted with in-person verification at the bank or... Wait, where are you right now? Which jewelry store? At the Galleria on 5th. Tiffany's Ethan answered weakly. Oh my God, what a coincidence. I'm at the same mall, honey. I was looking for a gift for your mom. I'll come over right now. Don't, Ethan shouted instinctively. If Arya came and saw Jessica, it would be over. Why not? If I come, I can explain to the manager that you're my husband and I can pay with my debit card. Or would you rather be dragged away by security? Arya threatened softly. Ethan fell silent. He glanced over at Jessica. He waved his hand, motioning for her to leave. Jessica, already mortified, grabbed her purse and fled the store without a second glance, leaving Ethan standing there alone like a fool. Seeing Jessica was gone, Ethan sighed in resignation. Okay, come here. Please hurry. Stay there. I'll be there in 5 minutes, Arya said. She hung up. She finished the last of her coffee, stood up, smoothed her blouse, and put on the perfect mask of a worried wife. Time for Act 2, she whispered. She walked out of the cafe and towards the lion's den to rescue the sheep, who was actually a wolf in disguise. Ethan thought his problems would be over once Arya arrived to pay. He had no idea her arrival was the beginning of his true nightmare. Arya walked into Tiffany & Co. with a grace that stood in stark contrast to the chaotic scene within. She moved calmly, her face radiating the perfect amount of concern, not over the top, but enough to convince anyone she was a caring wife. Near the register, Ethan stood with a pale face, his expensive blazer looking slightly wrinkled. He had probably been wringing his hands in nervousness. Beside him, the store manager and a mall security officer stood at attention, as if Ethan might bolt at any moment. Ethan, Arya called out, her voice slightly raised to be heard by everyone. Ethan turned and the look of relief on his face was palpable, as if he'd just seen a guardian angel descend from heaven. Honey, Arya approached and gently touched her husband's arm. She could feel his muscles tensed and his skin cold with sweat. She looked at the store manager with a firm yet polite gaze. Good afternoon. I'm Arya Weston, Ethan's wife, she said, pulling out her ID and her own platinum debit card. I'm so sorry for this misunderstanding. As I explained to my husband on the phone, there was a miscommunication with our bank regarding a potential data breach. My husband is not a fraud. The manager let out a long sigh, the tension in his shoulders easing. He recognized Arya as a longtime VIP customer. Oh, Mrs. Weston, my sincerest apologies. We were only following standard procedure after the terminal declined the card with a stolen code. I understand. You were just doing your job. Arya smiled graciously, then turned to Ethan with an unreadable expression. Honey, how could you be so careless? Is your wallet safe? Ethan nodded quickly. It's fine, honey. Just the credit card was acting up. Thank goodness. Well, let me settle the payment. What were you buying that caused such a commotion? Arya asked, glancing towards the now empty spot on the display counter. The jewelry set that Ethan and Jessica had chosen had been put away. Ethan swallowed hard. This was a critical moment. He couldn't possibly say the jewelry was for Jessica, who had vanished minutes ago. Ethan stammered, his mind racing for an excuse. Actually, I wanted to surprise you, Arya. Our 7th anniversary is next month, right? I wanted to buy you that diamond set you've always liked. Arya suppressed a cynical smile. Their anniversary was still 3 months away. What an amateur liar. Oh, Ethan, Arya covered her mouth with her hand, acting moved. You remembered, even though it's still a while away. Oh, now I feel terrible for having the card blocked. I'm so sorry, honey. It's okay. It was for security after all, Ethan replied, his voice growing steadier as he felt his lie had worked. So, are we still getting it? Arya asked, turning to the manager. Please bring out the item my husband selected. The sales associate hesitantly brought out the teardrop diamond necklace and earring set again. Arya looked at it for a moment. The design was very youthful and flashy, completely contrary to her own elegant minimalist taste. This was clearly Jessica's style. It's beautiful, Ethan. But Arya picked up the pendant and then placed it back on the velvet tray. It's a little too flashy for me. You know, I prefer simpler things. Besides, it's $85,000. That's a lot of money, honey. It would be better spent as capital for that project of yours that stalled. The words hit Ethan's ego like a punch. Arya had just reminded him who held the purse strings and who was in need, all without sounding arrogant. Oh, I see. Ethan looked disappointed, but inwardly he was cheering. He wouldn't have to spend his, or rather Arya's, money on an item that had failed to reach its intended recipient. It's okay. We can find something else later. Let's just go home. I'll make you a special dinner to apologize for embarrassing you here, Arya. suggested taking Ethan's arm. They walked out of the store. Ethan felt like he had just narrowly escaped disaster. He didn't realize that Arya's hand on his arm wasn't a sign of affection, but the grip of a warden leading a prisoner back to his cell. In the car on the way home, Arya drove reasoning that Ethan was still in shock. Silence filled the cabin of the luxury SUV. "So, you had a meeting with your client at the mall too?" Arya asked, breaking the silence, her eyes focused on the road. "Yeah, at the Starbucks downstairs. After the meeting, I just came up to browse," Ethan answered quickly. Too quickly. "Oh. Was the client a man or a woman?" "A man." "Mr. Herman." "From Chicago." Ethan lied again. Arya nodded. "I hope the deal goes through, honey. So you won't be so stressed about the company's cash flow." "Yeah, let's hope so." Ethan leaned his head back and closed his eyes. He felt utterly exhausted. The day's drama had drained him. Beside him, Arya smiled a very, very thin smile. "Mr. Herman from Chicago," she thought. "All right, Ethan. I'll remember that fictional name." That night around 2 a.m., the grand Mediterranean-style house was silent save for the sound of crickets from the backyard garden. In the master bedroom, Ethan was fast asleep, his mouth slightly agape, likely from the mental exhaustion of the mall incident. Arya rose slowly. She didn't turn on the lights, not wanting to wake him. On silent feet, she went downstairs to her home office. This office was the one place in the house Ethan was forbidden to enter without her permission under the guise of protecting confidential family business data. Arya turned on her laptop. The blue glow of the screen illuminated her serious face. There was no trace of the sweet wife who had cooked oxtail soup for her husband earlier that evening. This was Arya, the chairwoman. Arya, the executioner. She opened an encrypted chat app on her phone. "Arya, Rudy, do you have the data?" "Rudy Auditor, yes ma'am, just sent it to your secure email. The books are a mess. This is sloppy work." Arya opened the email. Rudy was an independent forensic auditor she had secretly hired a week ago when she first grew suspicious of Ethan's late nights and the company's ballooning expenses. On the laptop, screen rows of figures in an Excel sheet were highlighted in red by Rudy. Cash flow report for Thompson Developments, the subsidiary managed by Ethan. Jan 2nd operational expense client entertainment, S. $15,000. High-end restaurant Jan 10th business travel Chicago, $25,000. Arya knew Ethan wasn't in Chicago on that date. Jan 15th office asset purchase electronics, ACA, $35,000. No new equipment had appeared at the office. Jan 22nd, transfer to third-party consulting fee, J. Anderson, is $92,000. Arya's eyes fixated on the name. J. Anderson. So her full name is Jessica Anderson. Arya typed the name into a search engine on her other monitor. Her social media profiles popped up immediately. Her Instagram was public. Arya scrolled through the photos. Photo 1, Jessica, at a lavish restaurant. Date January 2nd. Caption: Dinner with my amazing boss is less than 3. Photo 2, Jessica, showing off a new designer handbag. Date January 15th. Caption: self-reward, no his reward. Arya cross-referenced the photo dates with the suspicious expenses in the financial report. A perfect match. 100%. Ethan was using company money from her father's legacy, to fund this woman's lifestyle. That bag, that dinner, maybe even the apartment Jessica lived in, were all paid for with her father's sweat and blood. Arya's chest rumbled, not with jealousy that emotion had died in the jewelry store that afternoon. What she felt now was disgust. Ethan wasn't just a cheater, he was a thief. He was stealing from the hand that fed him. Arya typed another message to Rudy. Arya, I need hard proof of the transfers. Complete bank statements for Jessica, if possible. Rudy Auditor. A bit tricky since it's a different bank, ma'am, but I can pull the data from the outgoing transfers on Mr. Thompson's end. I'll deliver the hard copies to you tomorrow afternoon. Not at your office. Arya, meet me at the usual place. Thank you, Rudy. Arya closed her laptop. She sat in the darkness for a few minutes, regulating her breath. Suddenly her phone vibrated again. It wasn't a message from Rudy. It was a notification from Ethan's mobile banking app, for which Arya had secretly cloned the notification access to her own phone. As the majority shareholder, she had admin access to all corporate accounts. Outgoing transaction $5,000 to Venmo at Jessica Anderson, 2:15 a.m. Arya glanced towards the stairs. Ethan must have woken up for a moment, sent the money an apology for his mistress, and then gone back to sleep. $5,000 probably to appease Jessica for not getting her diamonds. "You're so cheap, Ethan," Arya hissed. She returned to the bedroom and slipped back under the covers, lying next to the man who now felt like a disgusting stranger. Ethan stirred slightly in his sleep, his arm wrapping around her waist. Arya didn't push it away. She let his filthy hand touch her. "Enjoy your sleep tonight, Ethan," Arya thought. "Because soon, you won't be sleeping peacefully for the rest of your life." The next day, at the branch office where Jessica worked, her mood was foul. She slammed a stack of files onto her desk, making her coworker jump. "What's with you, Jess? It's morning and you look like you could kill someone," asked Rena, her office mate. "Shut up, I've got a headache," Jessica snapped. She stared at her phone. The $5,000 transfer from Ethan last night had come through, but it was nowhere near enough to soothe her humiliation. Yesterday, she had to scurry out of a jewelry store like a thief. She even saw from a distance Ethan's wife arrive, looking elegant and regal, while she had to hide in a mall bathroom for half an hour until it was safe. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. "Ethan, honey, I'm so sorry about yesterday. My wife is insanely suspicious. She blocked all my cards. As soon as my project funds come in, I'll make it up to you double." Jessica snorted. Promises, promises. All empty. She typed a reply with her perfectly manicured blood-red nails. "Jessica, I don't need promises, Ethan. I was humiliated yesterday. You said you were a big shot. How can a boss have his credit cards controlled by his wife? Are you a husband or her slave?" She hit send. She knew which buttons to push to trigger a man's ego like Ethan's. In his lavish office at the corporate headquarters, which now felt like a prison, Ethan read the message, his face turning red. He was already stressed out. Arya had come to the office today. Not just visited, she was sitting in the chairman's office, her late father's office, and had called in the finance team for a routine audit. Ethan couldn't move, couldn't meet Jessica, couldn't even make a phone call. And now Jessica was cornering him. He replied secretly under the conference table. "Ethan, be patient, babe. Arya's here doing a surprise audit. The situation is tense. Don't make it worse." Jessica. "Oh, so you're more scared of your wife? Fine. If I don't get proper compensation by the end of this week, we're done. Or maybe I'll just pay a visit to corporate headquarters and introduce myself to Mrs. Weston. She seems like a nice person." Ethan's eyes widened. The threat was real. Jessica knew where the main office was. If she came and caused a scene while Arya was conducting an audit, he was finished. He panicked. He had no large sums of cash. All his financial access was being monitored by Arya after the stolen card incident. Suddenly, the door to his office opened. Arya walked in without knocking. Ethan nearly threw his phone in shock. "Oh, honey, you startled me," he stammered quickly, hiding his phone screen. Arya smiled sweetly, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Sorry, Ethan. I brought you coffee. You looked so tense." "Worried the audit might find something." "What? No, of course not. Our finances are clean," Ethan deflected, cold sweat trickling down his back. "Just a lot of work." Arya placed a cup on his desk and then perched on the edge of it, her position slightly higher than his. A position of dominance. "Honey, let's have dinner out tonight. I'm craving a good steak." "Sure. Where?" "Prime, cut that place in Soho. I hear it's amazing." "I also want to talk to you about your career path," Arya said, straightening the collar of Ethan's shirt. Ethan's heart pounded. Prime cut in Soho. That was Jessica's favorite spot. She posted pictures from there all the time. She and her friends hung out there every Friday night. And today was Friday. Maybe not there, honey. The traffic to Soho on a Friday is terrible. Let's find a place closer to home," Ethan offered. Arya shook her head playfully. "Nope. I have my heart set on their steak. It has to be there. I already made a reservation for 8 p.m. Don't be late." Arya patted his cheek gently, and then left. "Get back to work, Ethan. And stop playing on your phone so much." After she left, Ethan felt weak. He quickly sent a message to Jessica. "Ethan, don't go to Prime Cut in Soho tonight. I'm having dinner there with Arya. Don't you dare show up." 2 blue check marks. Read but no reply. Across town, Jessica saw the message and a sly smile spread across her face. "Oh, so you want to flaunt your happy marriage at my favorite hangout? Okay, Ethan. Game on." Prime Cut Steakhouse was buzzing that night. Dim lighting, soft jazz, and the aroma of grilled meat filled the air. Arya and Ethan sat at a strategic table in the center of the room. Arya looked stunning in a simple yet elegant black dress. Ethan, on the other hand, was restless, his eyes darting towards the entrance like a fugitive. "What's wrong, honey? You seem anxious." "Are you looking for someone?" Arya asked as she cut into her filet mignon. "No, no one. It's just a bit warm in here," Ethan replied, gulping down his water. "Really? The AC feels fine to me." Arya smiled and took a bite of her steak. "This is delicious. No wonder all the young people love this place. Who knows, maybe that pretty secretary of yours likes to come here too." Ethan choked. Cough, cough. Arya quickly handed him a napkin. "Easy there, Ethan. Why so shocked to hear about your secretary? What's her name again?" "Jessica Wright." "Yeah, Jessica. Why are you suddenly talking about her?" "No reason. I was just looking at the company expense reports and saw a consulting fee paid to a Jessica Anderson. I was just curious, since when does a secretary receive consulting fees? Does she have a side gig as your business consultant?" Arya's gaze was direct, piercing through Ethan. He froze. He never expected Arya to bring up audit findings so quickly and in public. That must have been a data entry error, Arya. I'll check on it. Don't be so suspicious. I'm not being suspicious. I'm just asking. Arya smiled again, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Suddenly, a familiar female laugh came from the entrance. Ethan turned stiffly. There, walking in confidently, was Jessica with two of her friends. She wore a striking, fiery red dress that was a bold contrast to Arya's understated black. Jessica saw them. Of course she did. She had come here on purpose. She didn't avoid them. Instead, she walked straight past their table. As she passed, she stopped pretending to be surprised. "Oh, Mr. Thompson," Jessica greeted, her voice sweet but a little too loud. Ethan wished the earth would swallow him whole. "Oh, Jessica. You're eating here too?" "Yes, sir. The usual Friday night." Jessica flipped her hair and then looked at Arya, her gaze challenging, sizing her up from head to toe. "This must be Mrs. Weston, your wife." Arya slowly put down her knife and fork. She didn't stand, remaining seated with an air of grace that showed who had class. She looked at Jessica the way a queen looks at an impertinent servant. "Yes, I'm Arya. And you're Jessica, my husband's employee, I presume." Arya's tone was flat. "Personal secretary, ma'am," Jessica corrected, emphasizing the word personal. "Oh, a secretary. I hear you're quite the multitasker. Able to handle matters outside the office as well," Arya quipped her words, a subtle but sharp jab. Jessica smirked. "I just help with whatever Mr. Thompson needs, ma'am. Sometimes he requires extra assistance that he can't get at home." The temperature at the table dropped. Ethan was pale, terrified Jessica would explode and reveal everything right then and there. "Jessica, your friends are waiting for you," Ethan cut in, trying to shoo her away. "Right. No rush," Jessica laughed lightly. "Well, Mrs. Weston, enjoy your romantic dinner." She sauntered off to her table just 3 tables away. For the rest of the meal, Jessica kept glancing at Ethan, occasionally raising her glass to him as if in a toast. Ethan couldn't swallow his food. It felt like chewing on rubber. Arya, however, finished her steak with relish. "Your secretary is quite aggressive, isn't she?" Arya commented casually after Jessica had left their line of sight. "Be careful. Women like that will do anything to climb the social ladder. Don't let yourself become her victim." "Yeah, Arya. I'll talk to her at the office," Ethan replied weakly. "Good. Oh, speaking of the office," Arya dabbed her mouth with a napkin, her expression turning serious. Business mode activated. "I have an interesting proposition for you. A solution to your financial problems." A glimmer of hope appeared in Ethan's eyes. "What kind of proposition?" "A new chapter begins," Arya thought. The night was getting late, but the real conversation at table 12 was just beginning. Arya took out a tablet from her bag and opened a project presentation. "You know that large tract of land my father owned in West Texas, the one he never developed? The drilling permits finally came through last month." Ethan nodded. Of course he knew. It was a treasure trove he had always coveted, but had never been allowed to touch while Arya's father was alive. "I've been thinking, Ethan. You're right. You need a chance to prove yourself. All this time, people at the office just see you as Arya's husband, or the boss's son-in-law. That must be hard on a man's ego," Arya said with feigned empathy. Ethan was touched. "Yes, Arya. That's exactly how I've felt. I want to prove I can lead a major project. Well, that's why I want to give you full responsibility for managing the West Texas project." 100%, Arya said. Ethan's eyes widened. "Seriously, Arya, you're not joking." "I'm serious. I want you to be the CEO of a new subsidiary specifically for this project. We'll call it West Texas Resources LLC. You'll be in control, you'll build the team, you'll manage the finances. Ethan's gloomy face lit up instantly. Visions of millions of dollars danced in his head. If he ran this project, he wouldn't have to worry about credit card limits. He could buy Jessica not just a necklace, but the whole damn jewelry store. But there are conditions, Ethan Arya continued. What conditions? I'll agree to anything. Because this is a large-scale, high-risk project, the other shareholders require a guarantee of commitment. You'll have to sign a personal liability agreement making you fully responsible legally and financially for the project. If it's profitable, you get a 20% bonus of the net profit. That's a huge number, Ethan. But if it fails due to mismanagement, the responsibility is on you, not the parent company. Blinded by the promise of a 20% bonus and total control, Ethan didn't think twice about the risks. In his arrogant mind, he was sure he could handle it. He had always believed he was smart, just lacking opportunity. I agree, Arya. That's standard in business. High risk, high return, he said enthusiastically. Okay. And one more thing. Since the project is in West Texas, you'll have to be on site for the first 3 months starting next week. Ethan paused. 3 months away from New York, away from his comforts. But then he glanced over at Jessica's table. If he had full power and a lot of money, he could secretly bring her along. She would definitely go if he promised her luxury. This was actually a great opportunity to get away from Arya's watchful eye. Deal, Arya. I'm ready to go. For our future, Ethan said firmly. Arya smiled. A victor's smile. Ethan had just dug his own grave. The West Texas project was real, but it was plagued with environmental permit issues and an unresolved land dispute with local ranchers. Her father had deliberately left the land untouched because it was too risky. By appointing Ethan as the sole legal and financial head, Arya had just made her husband the sacrificial lamb who would face all the lawsuits and financial losses that were about to explode. Furthermore, she planned to cut off all funding from the parent company as soon as he arrived. All right then, we'll sign the papers with the lawyers tomorrow morning. Congratulations, Mr. CEO, Arya said, raising her glass of water. Thank you, darling. You're the best wife ever, Ethan replied, raising his glass. Across the room, Jessica watched them toast, her heart burning with envy. She had no idea that the glass Ethan was raising was filled with a poison that would destroy his future, and hers along with it. The night ended in a decisive victory for Arya. The trap was set, the bait was taken. Now all she had to do was wait to pull the noose. The next morning, the main boardroom of the Weston Group felt colder than usual. Seated around the long mahogany table were the board of directors and the company's corporate lawyers. Arya sat at the head of the table as chairwoman, her face calm, her eyes watching Ethan's every move. In front of Ethan lay a stack of documents 2 inches thick. It was the incorporation agreement and partnership contract for West Texas Resources LLC, the new subsidiary he would lead. Please read the clauses carefully, Mr. Thompson, said Mr. Sterling, the family's senior attorney, especially Article 18, regarding the absolute liability of the director. Ethan, already intoxicated by the vision of his CEO title and a 20% bonus, merely flipped through the pages. His eyes, fixated on the projected profit figures in the appendix, sparkled. He didn't bother to read the fine print on page 45, which stated, all operational losses, legal disputes, and financial liabilities arising from the negligence or decisions of the director shall be the full personal responsibility. Personal guarantee of the CEO without involving the assets of the parent company. I've reviewed it, Mr. Sterling. Standard corporate stuff, right? Ethan replied with a know-it-all tone. He took a Mont Blanc pen from his jacket pocket, a gift from Arya last year. Arya steepled her fingers on the table. Are you sure, Ethan? You don't want to consult with your personal lawyer first? Ethan laughed dismissively. Come on, Arya. This is our family company. You think I don't trust my own wife? Besides, I want to move fast. We need heavy machinery on site next week. Scratch, scratch. Ethan's signature flowed across the dotted line above the notary seal. 1, 2, 3 documents. Each stroke of the pen was another nail he hammered into his own coffin. It's official, Mr. Sterling said, closing the folder. Congratulations, Mr. Thompson. You are now officially the CEO with full authority. Polite applause echoed from the staff. Arya clapped slowly, deliberately. Congratulations, Ethan. My assistant has already booked your flight to Midland for tomorrow morning. Remember, you need to be there for at least 3 months to oversee the initial land clearing. Yes, ma'am, Ethan said, winking playfully at Arya. That afternoon, Ethan secretly met Jessica at a coffee shop far from the office. He tossed a set of new apartment keys onto the table. Not a luxury penthouse, but decent enough for temporary lodging. Honey, I'm leaving for Texas tomorrow. I want you to come with me, Ethan proposed. I'm the CEO now. We'll live in the company villa out there. I'll put you on the payroll as an administrative consultant, so you can get an official salary. Jessica's eyes lit up. Seriously, Ethan, a villa. That sounds amazing, like a vacation. Of course. Start packing. But we'll fly on separate planes so Arya's spies don't get suspicious. I'll meet you at the airport there. Neither of them knew that the villa Ethan spoke of was just a row of workers' barracks in the middle of an oil field with facilities far from luxurious. Ethan himself had never been there. He had only seen old photos. Arya had conveniently shown him photos from 5 years ago, when the site was still in good condition. That night, Ethan slept soundly beside Arya, dreaming of riches. Arya, however, did not sleep. She sent a short text to Mr. Davis at the bank. Arya, legal documents signed. Activate the asset freeze protocol for West Texas Resources LLC. Cut all credit lines tomorrow at 12 p.m. sharp. Mr. Davis understood Mrs. Weston. It will be done. West Texas greeted Ethan and Jessica with a searing heat. Not the polluted heat of New York City, but a humid, oppressive heat that made clothes stick to the skin in minutes. After arriving on separate flights and meeting at the terminal, they now stood by the curb waiting for the promised company car. Jessica, dressed in a summer dress and a wide-brimmed hat, struggled with 2 large suitcases filled with designer clothes. She looked completely out of place. "Where's the car, Ethan? It's so hot, my makeup is melting," Jessica whined, fanning her neck. "Patience, honey. The new company Suburban should be here any minute." Ethan tried calling the field manager's number Arya had given him. No answer. Suddenly, a beat-up old double-cab pickup truck caked in dried mud pulled up in front of them. The window was rolled down manually. The driver was a middle-aged man with a tribal tattoo on his arm, smoking a cheap cigarette. "Looking for a Mr. Thompson?" he asked gruffly. Ethan frowned. "Yes, I'm Thompson, the CEO. Where's my company car?" "This is it. The others are all in the shop. Hop in, sir." "It's a 4-hour drive to the site on a dirt road," the driver replied casually. Jessica's jaw dropped. "What? We're riding in this piece of junk. No way, Ethan. It smells awful. Just get in for now. We'll sort it out when we get there," Ethan whispered, trying to placate her, though a sense of unease was creeping over him. The 4-hour drive was hell. The truck's AC was broken. The road was so bumpy it made them nauseous, and cell service was non-existent. Jessica complained and cried the entire way, her legs bruised from banging against the metal door. Ethan could only sit in silence, bottling up his frustration. When they finally arrived at the West Texas Resources LLC site, reality hit them even harder. There was no luxury villa with a swimming pool like in the photos. All that stood there was a row of office containers and wooden barracks with leaky roofs. Electricity from a noisy generator was only available from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. "What is this place, Ethan?" Jessica shrieked hysterically when she saw the bathroom with its brown-tinted water. "You said a villa. This is a pigsty. Wait, let me call Arya. There must be a mistake." Ethan desperately searched for a signal, finally finding one bar near a water tower. "Arya, what is the meaning of this? Why are the facilities like this?" "A junker car, a filthy shack," Ethan yelled as soon as the call connected. Across the country, Arya's voice came through crystal clear and calm. She was at a spa. "Oh, you've arrived, Ethan. Sorry, I forgot to mention. The budget for renovating the villa and upgrading the vehicles is scheduled for next year's fiscal plan. Since you're the CEO now, it's your job to generate profits first to afford new facilities." The contract did state facilities as is. "Good luck, honey." Click. The line went dead. Ethan threw his phone onto the musty mattress. He felt trapped. But he still had the newly issued corporate credit card for West Texas Resources LLC. It had a $200,000 limit for initial operational costs. "Calm down, Jess. We're not staying here. We'll check into a hotel in the city. It's a long drive, but at least it'll be comfortable," Ethan consoled her. They returned to the city by hiring a local's car as the company driver refused to take them back. Arriving at a 4-star hotel downtown, Ethan confidently handed over the corporate card. The receptionist swiped it. "I'm sorry, sir. It's declined. Try again. It's a brand new card." "Still declined, sir. The code says insufficient funds or account frozen." Ethan felt weak. He tried his personal card, which was also a supplementary card from Arya. Declined. Arya had cut off everything. "Ethan, don't tell me you're broke, Jessica." hissed beside him, her voice sharp. My wallet. I must have left it in my other bag, Ethan lied. Use your card for now, Jess. The company will reimburse you. Jessica snorted, her face a mask of fury. She pulled out her own debit card, funded by the money she had squeezed out of Ethan over the months. You'd better pay me back tomorrow. That night in the hotel room, Ethan couldn't sleep. He opened his laptop and checked the West Texas Resources LLC bank account. Balance $0. The operational funds Aria had promised never arrived. Worse, there was an email from a local law firm, a notice of a land dispute. All heavy machinery was forbidden from operating as the land was still in dispute with a local ranchers' co-op. The CEO was summoned to appear in court the day after tomorrow. Ethan slid to the floor. He was alone on an island of dust with no money, facing a lawsuit and saddled with a demanding mistress. A week passed and the situation only worsened. Ethan couldn't return to New York because Aria, through corporate HR, had frozen his salary and benefits, citing a lack of progress reports. She blocked his number and would only communicate through official company email. Jessica was at her breaking point. Her savings were dwindling from paying for food and the hotel. Ethan kept making excuses about a delay in fund transfers from corporate. That morning in the hotel lobby during breakfast, the time bomb finally exploded. Jessica saw a notification on Ethan's phone, which was lying on the table. An email from Aria synced to his phone. It read, "Ethan, please be frugal. The subsidiary's financial report shows zero income. If you cannot fund operations as per your contract, you must use your personal funds." Jessica snatched the phone. "What does this mean, Ethan? You have to use your own money. I thought you were the boss." "Give me back my phone." Ethan tried to grab it, but Jessica dodged him. "Answer me honestly. Do you actually have any money?" CEO. "Filthy rich." "My ass." Jessica screamed, oblivious to the other hotel guests turning to stare. "It's just an administrative issue, honey. Can't you be patient?" Ethan yelled back, his stress level peaking. "Patient? We've been stranded here for a week. I want to go back to New York. Buy me a ticket now." "I don't have any money. Aria blocked all my cards," Ethan finally confessed. A moment of silence. Jessica's face turned crimson with rage. "So all this time, all your luxury, it all belonged to your wife. You're just a parasite living off her." Ethan was silent. His pride was shattered in front of his own mistress. "You pathetic leech!" Jessica threw Ethan's phone to the floor, cracking the screen. "I regret ever coming here with you. I thought I was going to be a queen, not a beggar." Jessica ran to their room and started packing. Ethan chased after her, trying to stop her, but she slapped him hard across the face. "Don't touch me! I'm going back to New York on my own. And you know what? I'm going to tell your wife everything so she divorces you and you're left with nothing." Ethan laughed bitterly. "Go ahead. She probably already knows." But Jessica had other plans. She didn't know that Aria was already aware of everything. Jessica thought Aria was still the naive, clueless wife who could be manipulated. She wanted to destroy Ethan by sending proof of their affair to Aria, hoping Aria would divorce him and leave him destitute, her revenge for being deceived. In a taxi to the airport paid for with the last of her money, Jessica opened Instagram. She found Aria's account and sent a direct message. "Jessica Anderson, good afternoon, Mrs. Weston. I think you need to know what your husband has been doing behind your back. He's been cheating on me with you for months. He brought me to Texas using your money. Here's the proof." Jessica attached photos of them together, screenshots of their text messages where Ethan insulted Aria, calling her uptight, boring, and worse, and proof of the monthly money transfers. Jessica smiled with satisfaction after hitting send. "You're finished, Ethan. You're getting kicked out of that wealthy family." What Jessica didn't know was that in New York, Aria was sitting comfortably in her office. The DM notification popped up. Aria opened it, looking at the photos without a trace of heartbreak. Instead, a wide smile spread across her lips. "Thank you, Jessica," Aria murmured. "I've been waiting for this bullet. You just saved me a fortune on private investigator fees." Aria took screenshot after screenshot, saving all the evidence in a folder named Checkmate. Then she replied to Jessica's DM with a short, chilling message. "Aria Weston, thank you for the information, Miss Anderson. This evidence will be very useful for the emergency board meeting tomorrow morning. Enjoy your flight home." Jessica read the reply in the airport departure lounge. Her heart stopped. Emergency board meeting. Suddenly she realized she hadn't destroyed Ethan. She had helped Aria slaughter him, and as the recipient of embezzled funds, she knew she could be dragged down with him. The next day, on the 40th floor of the Weston Group Tower, the atmosphere in the executive boardroom was tense. It was an emergency board meeting called abruptly by the chairwoman Arya. Present were Arya's uncles, minority shareholders, the CFO, the legal team, and of course Rudy, the forensic auditor. The CEO chair for West Texas Resources LLC was empty. Ethan was still stuck in Texas without money for a flight home. "Gentlemen, ladies," Arya began, her voice confident. She wore a pristine white blazer symbolizing that her hands were clean of the company's mess. "Today's agenda is singular, to evaluate the performance and integrity of Mr. Ethan Thompson." The projector screen lit up. Slide 1: Financial reports for Thompson Developments and West Texas Resources LLC. Based on a forensic audit conducted by Mr. Rudy, we have found a suspicious outflow of funds totaling $1.5 million over the last 6 months, which cannot be justified as operational expenses, Arya stated. A graph on the screen showed a sharp red line plummeting downwards. These funds were disguised as entertainment expenses, fictitious business trips, and consulting fees, Arya continued. However, evidence shows these funds flowed directly into the personal account of a third party. The slide changed. This time it wasn't numbers but photos. The photos Jessica had sent. Proof of transfers from the company account to Jessica's account. Screenshots of Ethan's texts, promising project money for Jessica's shopping sprees. The room erupted. Arya's uncle, Mr. Wallace, slammed his fist on the table. "That scoundrel, so our dividend money was being used to fund his affair." Arya raised a hand for silence. "That's not all, Mr. Thompson also signed a fictitious heavy machinery procurement contract in Texas, causing the company a potential loss of $5 million due to penalties from a land dispute he failed to vet." "This is criminal," the CFO exclaimed. "Correct," Arya said coldly. "And according to Article 18 of the incorporation agreement he signed last week, all losses due to moral and criminal negligence are the sole personal responsibility of the CEO. Arya looked at everyone in the room. "I propose 3 motions. 1. The immediate and dishonorable termination of Ethan Thompson from all positions within the Weston Group. 2. Legal action to recover the $1.5 million and claim $5 million in damages filed against him personally. 3. Reporting this act of embezzlement to the authorities if there is no good faith effort to repay within 48 hours. "Seconded," Mr. Wallace boomed. "All in favor," echoed the other shareholders. The gavel struck 3 times. Thud, thud, thud. Ethan's career was over. Not only was he fired, but he was now $6.5 million in debt to the company, technically a debt to his wife's family. Arya closed her folder, her face impassive. There were no tears for the husband she had just buried. "Legal team, prepare the summons. Send it to his home address and personal email. Revoke all his access to this building effective immediately." 3 days later, Ethan finally managed to get back to New York, after borrowing money from an online loan shark and selling his luxury watch at a pawn shop for a fraction of its value. He was a mess, his face gaunt, his beard unkempt, his shirt wrinkled and reeking of sweat. He went straight to their lavish brownstone on the Upper East Side. He wanted to scream. He wanted to confront Arya. He wanted an explanation for why he had been abandoned. Arriving at the tall wrought iron gate, Ethan pressed the remote. Nothing. He tried again. Still, nothing. He got out of the taxi he hadn't paid for and started banging on the gate. "John, open the gate. It's me," he yelled at the security guard. John the guard emerged from his booth, but he didn't open the gate. He approached the bars with a conflicted expression. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson. I have orders from the missus not to open the gate for you." "What are you talking about? This is my house too," Ethan kicked the gate. "Please don't force it, sir. The digital locks have all been recoded. You can't get in." Suddenly, a black sedan pulled up behind Ethan. 2 well-built men in suits got out. One was carrying a leather portfolio. "Mr. Ethan Thompson," one of them asked. "Yes." "Who are you?" Ethan snapped. "We're from Sterling & Associates Legal Counsel for Mrs. Weston and the Weston Group." The man handed him a thick envelope. "This is your first and final notice." Ethan tore open the envelope with trembling hands. His eyes widened as he read its contents. A letter of dishonorable termination. A divorce filing with the Supreme Court of New York. A civil suit demanding damages of $6,500,000 to be paid in full within 14 days. Notice of a criminal complaint filed with the NYPD for felony embezzlement, with a potential sentence of 5 years in prison. Ethan's legs gave out. The papers scattered across the hot asphalt. "If you fail to settle the payment within 14 days, our client will move to seize all of your personal assets, including your car, any property inherited from your parents, and will proceed with the criminal charges," the lawyer added, flatly. "This is insane." Arya wouldn't be this cruel, Ethan mumbled, tears welling in his eyes. Mrs. Weston asked me to pass on a message, sir, the other lawyer said. Ethan looked up, his eyes red. What message? She said. Remember that diamond necklace you picked out for another woman? Its price was high. But the price of your betrayal is much, much higher. Enjoy your new life of poverty. The lawyer gave a polite nod, got back into the car, and drove away. John the guard watched with pity from behind the gate before slowly retreating into his booth. Ethan stood alone on the sidewalk, kicked out of his home, fired from his job, hunted by millions in debt, and facing prison time. Jessica had blocked his number. His socialite friends would surely abandon him once the news broke. The taxi driver behind him honked. Hey buddy, you gonna pay the fare? Ethan reached into his pockets. Empty. He realized his life had just ended. And Arya, the woman he had always considered weak and submissive, had just destroyed him without getting her own hands dirty. Jessica huddled in the corner of a cramped 10x 10-foot room in a rundown part of Queens, a world away from luxury apartments, high-end malls, and the lifestyle she flaunted on social media. In front of her, a suitcase overflowed with designer clothes and expensive handbags. She had just sold one of the fake Hermes bags Ethan had given her on eBay for a pittance just to survive the week. Damn you, Ethan. Damn you, she cursed, counting the crumpled $20 bills. Jessica thought that by sending proof of the affair to Arya, she would be safe. She thought Arya would focus on destroying Ethan and forget about her. But she had forgotten that in the world of law, anyone who receives the proceeds of a crime can also be implicated. Knock, knock, knock. A hard rap on her door made her heart leap into her throat. Who is it? She cried out, her voice trembling. Was it a collector for her online loans, or had Ethan found her? Ma'am, NYPD. Open up. The blood drained from Jessica's face. The police. Why the police? With a shaking hand, she unlocked the door. Two plainclothes detectives stood there, flashing their badges. Behind them was a man in a sharp suit, one of Arya's lawyers. Jessica Anderson, one of the detectives, asked sternly. Yes. What's this about? We're taking you in for questioning. You're a key witness in a corporate embezzlement case against the suspect Ethan Thompson. We sent 2 summonses to your address on file but got no response. I moved. I didn't know. Jessica started to cry. I had nothing to do with it. He just gave me an allowance. Arya's lawyer stepped forward, a thin, chilling smile on his face. Miss Anderson, under the accomplice, liability and money laundering statutes, knowingly receiving funds from a criminal enterprise can make you a co-conspirator. The sentence is up to 5 years in prison. Jessica's knees buckled and she collapsed. Please don't send me to jail. I'm still young. In that case, you will cooperate, the lawyer said coldly. Become a cooperating witness. Testify in court. Tell them everything about Ethan's corruption, how much he transferred what he bought with company money. If you are truthful and help us put him away, Mrs. Weston may consider not pressing criminal charges against you. Jessica looked up, mascara streaking down her tear-stained face. She had 2 choices, stay loyal to Ethan and go to jail with him, or betray him to save her own skin. For a woman as selfish as Jessica, the choice was easy. I'll testify, she said quickly. I'll tell you everything. Ethan forced me to take the money. It was all his idea. The lawyer nodded, satisfied. Good. Come with us to the station now. Bring all your text messages and bank statements. Jessica was escorted into the unmarked police car. Inside, she deleted every photo of herself with Ethan from her phone. There was no love left, only the instinct for survival. 2 weeks later, a heavy rain drenched New York City. In front of the tall gates of Arya's Upper East Side home, a man stood motionless. He no longer wore an expensive suit, only a worn-out, soaked hoodie, ripped jeans, and sneakers whose soles were coming apart. It was Ethan. His face was gaunt, his eyes sunken and shadowed. He had been homeless for the last 10 days, moving between shelters and shop doorways. All his assets had been seized, and he was penniless. His friends had blocked him the moment they heard he was a suspect. His parents back home were in the hospital from the shock, and he was too ashamed to go home. His only hope was Arya's mercy. A black SUV, the one he used to drive, approached the gate. Its headlights illuminated Ethan's pathetic figure. The automatic gate began to open. In a desperate move, Ethan jumped in front of the car, spreading his arms. Arya, please stop, he screamed, his voice swallowed by the storm. The car screeched to a halt. Arya's driver, Michael, was about to get out to chase him away, but the rear passenger window slowly rolled down. Arya sat there, dry, warm, and beautiful. She looked at Ethan not with anger but with the empty gaze one gives a disruptive stranger. Ethan ran to the window, his dirty hands gripping the car door. "Arya, I'm sorry, Arya, I was wrong. I was a fool. Please drop the charges. I can't live as a fugitive. I have nowhere to go." Arya didn't answer. She just stared at his filthy hands soiling her expensive car. "I'm your husband, Arya. We were happy once, remember? Remember our honeymoon, our wedding vows." Ethan began to sob his tears, mixing with the rain. "I promise I'll change. I'll be your driver, your gardener, whatever you want. Just don't send me to prison. Please, Arya." Finally, Arya spoke. Her voice was calm, but it cut deeper than a scalpel. "Wedding vows." She gave a sad, cynical smile. "You pawned those vows the moment you transferred company money to that whore's account, Ethan. It was Jessica. She seduced me. I was trapped." Ethan tried to defend himself, still blaming others. "Oh, really? Jessica has already given her statement to the police. She said you were the one who promised her a life of luxury." Arya cut him off. "And as for our honeymoon, do you remember who paid for the tickets and the hotel? My father. Do you remember who funded your business? I did. I know I was wrong. I'm indebted to you. It's not a debt of gratitude, Ethan. It's a criminal and financial debt. And debts must be paid." Arya pressed the button to raise the window. "Arya, no Arya." Ethan tried to hold the glass with his hands, but the car's motor was stronger. The window closed shut. Arya tapped on the partition. "Michael, drive. Ignore that madman." The car moved forward into the warm, comfortable driveway. The iron gate closed slowly in front of Ethan's face. Clang. Ethan fell to his knees on the wet asphalt, pounding the ground, howling in despair. He saw the lights of the house turn on one by one. The house where he had once lived, where he had felt like a king, was now a fortress he could never breach again. That night, Ethan slept in a cold, abandoned bus stop, shivering with fever, haunted by the ghosts of his glorious past and the grim reality of his future behind bars. 3 months later, the New York County Supreme Court was packed. The case had gone viral with headlines like "Kept Husband's Downfall, Embezzled Wife's Fortune for Mistress." Reporters and curious onlookers filled the courtroom, eager to see Ethan's face. Ethan sat in the defendant's chair, his hair buzzed short, wearing an orange prison jumpsuit. He was gaunt and listless, a mere shadow of the handsome socialite he once was. In the front row of the gallery, Arya sat calmly beside her lawyer. She wore a simple white blouse, looking dignified. She had not missed a single day of the trial, not to offer support but to ensure justice was served. The judge banged his gavel to begin the sentencing. "The defendant, Ethan Thompson, will rise," the judge commanded. Ethan stood on trembling legs, his head bowed, not daring to look at Arya. Based on the facts presented in this trial, the testimony of the witnesses and the authenticated evidence, the judge began to read. Ethan remembered the moment Jessica had testified last week. Jessica, the woman who claimed to love him, had mercilessly thrown him under the bus. "Mr. Thompson forced me to accept that money, Your Honor. He said it was a legitimate bonus. I had no idea it was stolen. He told me his wife was cruel and stingy and that he was looking for an escape." Jessica's words were like a dagger twisting in his heart. "This court finds the defendant, Ethan Thompson, guilty of the crime of embezzlement in a continuing enterprise as defined in the New York Penal Code." The courtroom was silent, holding its breath. "And therefore sentences the defendant to a term of imprisonment of 4 years and 6 months. 4.5 years. Ethan's world collapsed. His youth would be spent in a prison cell, and further orders the defendant to pay restitution in the amount of $1,500,000 to the Weston Group. Failure to pay will result in the liquidation of all seized assets by the state." Thud, thud, thud. The gavel fell. The sentence was final. Ethan went limp. Court officers immediately handcuffed him. Camera flashes exploded in his pale face. As he was led out of the courtroom, he passed Arya in the hallway. She stood still, watching him. Ethan paused. "Arya," he whispered hoarsely, "are you satisfied?" Arya met his gaze, her expression flat. There was no triumphant smile, no wicked laugh, only a deadly calm. "This isn't about satisfaction, Ethan," she replied softly. "This is about consequences. You chose this path the moment you stood in that jewelry store. I just helped you reach your destination. I regret everything, Arya. Save your regrets for God. In this world, your time is up." Arya turned and walked away, the sound of her heels clicking down the hall, leaving Ethan to be pulled away by the officers and shoved into a transport vehicle with bars on the windows. In another corner of the courthouse, Jessica watched from afar. She had avoided prison by becoming a cooperating witness, but her life was in ruins. Her name was blacklisted in every corporate HR database. No one would hire a treacherous secretary. She now worked as a clerk at a small convenience store on the outskirts of the city, always wearing a mask, ashamed to be recognized. Justice had found its way to each of them. The late afternoon sun cast a golden-orange glow over Manhattan. As Arya exited the mall, the valet brought her car around a new two-door Porsche she had bought for herself as a birthday gift last week. She got in, placing a small shopping bag from a different jeweler on the passenger seat. The seat was empty, but it no longer felt lonely. Arya started the engine. The soft purr of the sports car was music to her ears. She connected her phone to the car's Bluetooth system. A call came in from an unknown number. "Hello," Arya answered. "Hello, good afternoon." "Am I speaking with Mrs. Arya Weston?" a man's voice asked. "This is she. Who is this?" "I'm calling from the State Asset Auction Bureau, ma'am. I'm informing you that the seized assets, a house in Scarsdale and one SUV under the name of the convicted felon Ethan Thompson, will be auctioned tomorrow morning. As the plaintiff, would you be interested in attending?" Arya paused. The house in Scarsdale was the first home they had bought together as newlyweds, a house full of memories, both sweet and bitter. The SUV was Ethan's pride and joy. Arya looked at the road ahead. The traffic light turned green. "No, thank you," she said firmly. "Sell it all. I have no need for junk. Please donate the proceeds directly to a children's charity in the Weston Foundation's name. I don't want that money in my account. It's too dirty." Of course, ma'am. We will do that. That is very noble of you." "It's not about being noble. I'm just throwing out the trash." Arya ended the call. She pressed the accelerator, and the car surged forward onto the FDR drive. The evening breeze whipped through the slightly open window. She glanced at the rearview mirror and saw her own reflection. The woman who 6 months ago had been trembling and crying behind a pillar in a mall was gone. The woman who had been afraid of losing a parasitic husband was dead. In her place was the new Arya, independent, self-sufficient, an Arya who didn't need validation from any man to feel worthy. She picked up the jewelry box from the passenger seat and opened it with one hand. A brilliant diamond ring sparkled in the afternoon light. "Goodbye, Ethan," she whispered to the wind. "And thank you for teaching me that the best investment is always in myself." Arya smiled, a genuine, free, and happy smile. She put on her favorite song, turned up the volume, and sped towards the horizon. Her life had just begun. And this time she was the writer, director, and leading star of her own story.